Everglades National Park, the United States of America. The Everglades. A vast wetland area extending across the southern part of the peninsular state of Florida in the United States. There are only 2 seasons in the subtropical Everglades: the dry season in summer and the wet season in winter. This annual Everglades water cycle sustains its rich and diverse ecosystem. People who visit the Everglades are invariably astonished by the sheer number of animals that they can see at close range. Yet from the 19th century onwards, overhunting and changes in the environment resulting from human activities have caused an alarming drop in the indigenous animal populations. The animals worst affected are the aquatic birds, particularly the populations of birds that stalk their prey in shallow waters. The heron, for example, has dropped by 90% since its population was first surveyed in the 1930s. In 1947, a section of the wetlands was set aside as a national park with the primary goal of protecting these aquatic birds. However, the fragile and complicated wetland ecosystem is difficult to restore once damaged. The threatened wetlands of the Everglades were designated a World Heritage Site in 1979. The southern tip of the Florida Peninsula is covered by a swath of subtropical marshlands. Although the Everglades National Park preserves the southern portion of the Everglades, it represents only 27.3% of the original Everglades area. With a total area of 5,900 square kilometers, or 2,278 square miles, the Everglades National Park ranks as America's second largest national park. During the wet season, rainfall in this part of Florida fills an inland lake called Lake Okeechobee. The overflowing waters of this lake are the source for the streams that flow out into the wetlands. The water flows at a leisurely pace of 30 centimeters or 12 inches per minute. But it travels a distance of 160 kilometers or almost 100 miles to reach Florida Bay, generously hydrating the wilderness marshes along the way. The wetlands are interspersed with marshes and ponds that remain wet during the dry season. In the dry season, ponds like this one become an oasis for the diverse array of animals that congregate here. Among the animals living at the water's edge, it is the American alligator that is most conspicuous. It is the largest species of reptile in North America. A mature alligator can reach up to 6 meters or 20 feet in length. By the end of May, the courtship calls of these alligators resound throughout the wetlands, signaling the beginning of the annual mating season. When water levels of the wetlands drop during the dry season, a large number of fish are left stranded in the marshes and ponds. Great egrets gather to feed on these schools of fish. These elegant birds breed during the dry season. Breeding at this time of year makes it easier for parents to provide for their young and deliver the large quantities of food required by the hatchlings. found throughout the wetlands are tree-covered islands called hummocks. White-tailed deer use these hummocks to dodge predators, as well as shield themselves from the intense afternoon sun. Wetland birds also use the hummocks as breeding grounds and roosting areas. Everglades vegetation growing nearer to the coast is visibly different from that found farther inland. In this coastal area, the fresh water of the wetlands mixes with the seawater of the Gulf. This makes it home to one of the world's largest mangrove forests. This mangrove forest plays a vital role in protecting the Everglades. The complex intertwining network of mangrove roots stabilizes the mud on the coastline. Mangrove trees keep wetland soil intact by preventing erosion from steady contact with waves and currents from the sea. The coastal areas of the Everglades are highly suitable habitats for birds. Nutrients delivered by fresh wetland water flowing into the area, combined with decomposing mangrove leaves, make these waters rich in plankton. The coastal Everglades offer a veritable banquet of fish and shellfish. Birds inhabiting the area have little trouble finding prey. Soaring gracefully overhead is a fish-eating bird of prey called an osprey. In its talons is clutched a freshly caught meal, probably soon to be eaten in a nest perched on the branches of a mangrove tree. This is a nest with a couple of osprey chicks. Although almost equal in size to their parents, the osprey chicks have yet to develop the ability to hunt their own prey from a sea teeming with bounty. This highway cuts directly through the wetlands. Despite its harsh and wild conditions, the Everglades have not escaped the encroachment of human development. Man-made floodgates have been installed to stem the waters of the wetlands. Manipulating the natural water cycle can have adverse effects on the area's wildlife. The eggs of aquatic snails, which rank at the bottom of the food chain, is one example. These eggs will die if the floodgates open and flood the wetlands with water during the dry season. The Everglades faces a chronic water shortage. If water levels continue to diminish, there is a serious risk that the salty seawater may start to flow inland and flood the Everglades. Roughly 80% of the water that flows from the source lake that feeds the Everglades is piped to nearby farmlands and cities. The increasing population of Miami has a heavy demand for a regular supply of water. The city's population grows at a rate of 900 people per day, with peak season for visitors occurring during the dry season. There are more than 50 endangered species resident in the Everglades National Park. The decline in numbers of the Everglades wood stork population is especially serious. In the 1930s, there were approximately 3,000 wood storks dwelling here. But today, the number of wood storks able to be confirmed in the area has plummeted to 25. Most likely, man's activities in the wetlands have prevented the wood storks from catching enough fish during their breeding season. In recent years, there have been various initiatives undertaken to revitalize the Everglades environment. Some include removing exotic plants and suspending agriculture to allow conversion of farmland back to wetlands. In 1993, UNESCO added the Everglades National Park on the World Heritage in Danger list. It has also been designated an International Biosphere Reserve in recognition of its significance to the people of the world. Perhaps greater awareness of its plight will prevent the Everglades from becoming a paradise lost.